Hello, everybody. I'm looking down at my bottom screen because I don't normally do the show. Well, I do the show. I'm just not usually in charge of it. You get the point, okay? Guys, today we have a special episode. Now, you know his name from chat. You know his name as the creative director because this guy has like 5,000 ideas a minute, which is not bad because 1 out of every 10 are good, and then I claim they're my own.
Normally how that goes.
Yes. But this is not GhostTypeGhost. I pointed in the right direction. I had to make sure. Because I think I'm normally on the other side in the Discord call. Anyways, yeah, this person over here, this is not GhostTypeGhost, a.k.a. Andamask. How you doing, friend?
Great. How's everybody doing tonight? Hoping this is a little bit of a change for people. We know GhostTypeGhost would love to be here. He unfortunately slept on a machoke and suffocated. So we wish him the best and a speedy recovery, and we will see him next week.
Yeah, you just gotta, send those thoughts and poke prayers, I guess. Dear Arceus above, please grant he didn't want to actually be a ghost type. Well, maybe he does. I don't know. We'll have to ask him how he feels. Does he want to actually be a ghost type?
I think I remember something about a Gengar and a Shuppet. I don't remember which one.
As much as I love bug types, I would not want to be a bug type. I feel so cursed if I be a bug type because A, Misty wouldn't like me, and B, a lot of people just don't like bug types. So,
That happens.
But anyways, you guys, so we are gonna go ahead. We're gonna have our normal podcast with more than normal. No, wait, a more than suitable replacement. I just want to use the word normal again. For the week, Andamask's here. So, as you see, the layout clearly indicates that it's Andamask. Just throwing that out there. Not GhostTypeGhost. So, tonight, guys, we have topics that I think I have the most fun with. Because I love free stuff. And I love ROM hacks. So tonight we're going to be talking about distribution and freebies that go along with Pokemon games and, throughout the life, at the beginning of their life, promotional, anything from official sources, not referring to myself, but from official sources, giveaways and stuff like that. We're going to talk about ROM hacks, and then to close it off, we all love Pokemon, so we all have a kid inside, right? So what's better than kid shows in the Pokeverse?
Exactly. Pokemon is a genre that now transcends 2 generations.
Yeah.
Please keep that in mind and look at it through the eyes of a child.
And, it's what keeps me young, Just that and an energy drink every day.
Caffeine, my friend, caffeine.
But before we move on, Steel, there is no disrespect to Gale Angela. I love Gale Angela, and I'm fuzzy. Thanks, I'm fuzzy already. Good job, camera. But
I blame November.
Yes. It's my camera's doing No Shave November. That's what it's doing. So while I focus, let's get started. So we obviously have some new promos to talk about while I'm still fuzzy with Scarlet and Violet. So what promos have you seen? Like when they say, "Hey, pre-order the double pack" or "pre-order the game," or what have you seen?
So honestly, I haven't seen a lot of it. I know GameStop has sent a couple emails out. Multiple vendors have been reaching out and they're like, hey, pre-order with us and we'll get it to you on day 1. Or Amazon being, hey, pre-order with us and it'll arrive the day of, which when you live in the middle of nowhere like me, generally just means you're probably not getting it until 2 weeks later.
until the mailman has another reason to come by. And then like, oh yeah, hey, had this for like a month and a half. So what were the items? Did you see anybody that was giving you like?
I haven't. The last game I remember seeing anything with the promo items for was when Arceus came out, and that was the extra pack of beginning equipment, which was I think a couple different types of balls,
yeah,
and a potion or 2.
Yeah, it was basic equipment. So most of the things that I'm seeing for Scarlet and Violet are the same way, and it makes me upset. I'm spending 120, I don't know if they're $60 or $70 games, but I'm spending, triple digit money. If it's something that I can get very easily early on in the game, why do I want to buy from you?
Right. And I don't understand why they're trying to incentivize. I know, and forgive me for bringing in other games, but we've all experienced the, oh, if I pre-order it, I'll be in the good, and then the game is suddenly dropped like a hot potato on day two.
Yeah.
Uh, Looking at you, Anthem. Uh, but it feels like Pokemon's just jumping on the bandwagon of, hey, buy our game ahead of time. We want to know sales numbers well in advance because, hey, we trust that you want our stuff. And that's just not exactly the type of appeal I'd like to see them move. We know that as avid fans, we are inclined to buy their product almost regardless. Why spend the time and effort into these easy gimmicks when you could send us, a couple new things at the end of the game, some post-game content, spend a little more on development and a little less on promo.
Yeah, and especially when the promo, again, is something that's easy early game. So, and I'm not asking to, like get the rare Terraform Charizard, day one, is my thing. Like, you remember Speed Boost Blaziken being a promo item, the Torchic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that was kind of cool because it came as a Torchic. It just had a cool ability, and then you could use it. So, something like that, it doesn't have to be dummy broken like the a Terraform Charizard that's super beneficial, but it's got to be better than potions and Pokeballs. Maybe even quick balls.
Right.
That's not that broken, is it?
I don't think so at early game because you're taking into account the speeds of the Pokemon involved, which in early game, everything's pretty close to even.
Well, quick balls based on the turn, so it's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking of fastball.
Yep, I'm thinking fastball.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been playing a different game. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, but so I mean, because early on, quick ball. So, but this goes to say that quick balls are good because you can save them for late game when you're trying to get some high level encounters. But it's not a broken thing in the sense that early game Pokemon are usually have a favorable catch rate. So if you want to give that to me, for downloading a day one or buying it from you, that's something that I can save for late game. Or if I'm a kid playing it, I'm like, ooh, blue ball, and I just throw it, and I'm like, oh, cool, I caught my, whatever this version's Caterpie is. But I don't know. They need to give us more. It's Steel in the comments says there's a Scarlet Violet promo in Japan that gives you a Pikachu card. That would be super cool. I know I talk about it more than Ghost would like, but he's not here. Ha ha ha. Cardfight Vanguard, their physical release, it comes with exclusive cards. Pokemon is one of the big three card franchises, so why not slap a card in there? You got one when you went back and saw the Entei movie. You got one when you saw Pokemon the first movie.
Yeah, Pokemon cards as movie promotions made so much more sense back in the day, and I miss for the life of me. So I'm going to tell a slightly horrific story if you're a major Poke fan. I collected the card game during first edition, and I had a complete set of the first edition, including the promo Mew card from the first movie that I proceeded to bury in a tin in the backyard of my old house, and it is now sitting under 3 solid feet of concrete. I will never see that tin again, and it pains me every day I think about it.
I'm having heart palpitations. You may have to do the rest of the show by yourself. I don't know.
Oh, deep breaths, buddy. But promos, I feel like promotional items are meant to be just that. There's something special that you're supposed to enjoy and remember about it. When we look back, we remember that Mew card. We remember the gold cards at Burger King that came in the big shiny Pokeball.
Yes.
Like, those are promos that I look forward to. Just an item pack seems like a cop-out and such an undersell.
Yeah, and
for such a long-running franchise.
One thing that I think might contribute to this is we're in a digital age. How many people that are buying a digital game would say, oh, if it doesn't come on a code card, I got gypped? You know what I mean?
Right.
But it could still be better than potions and Pokeballs.
Now, that being said, we're not advocating NFTs. That is no way, shape, or form.
The Indigo Plateau Show condemns all NFTs in any form. Well, so there is one retailer I am off next Friday, specifically for the games, because I'm a nerd, slightly a little bit. Vanguard game
Sorry,
comes
I
out
thought it was the flu.
Vanguard game comes out the day before, so things are a little slow. You might see old WoodlandDOX on Twitch, but the there's one retailer that does have a solid promo, and my outfit is a hint. I'll give you a guess.
You're awfully red, and that's the only thing I can go by. Is it red, white, and blue all over? I don't know.
Target. Target has a wonderful promo for going in and buying the double pack. Yeah, and it is a small figurine. It's like the I have him over there. I can't really get to him. There's a ceramic Pikachu figure. It's maybe about 2.5, 3 inches wide, and it's just a small like ceramic figure. It's of the starters.
Oh.
And if you go, it's one per customer. But if you buy the double pack, Target's giving you that figure. And I'm like, that's a really, really good promo.
For sure. And that's something memorable that's only going to be at launch.
Right. And Target is going to get my money because of that.
And that's fair.
And we're going to use Red Card and get 5% back. It's going to be perfect.
The other part I like about Target and some of the promos that they do is that they continue to release promos as the games are going on. So we have all seen recently in honor of Ash winning his championship for the first time in the anime series, which only took forever. They released his whole team as digital codes.
Yeah.
But to get them, you had to visit certain retailers.
Yeah. So now, what do you think about those? Like, not just Target, but like GameStop, or I think didn't they give one to like Books A Million or somebody? They give one to like a non-traditional gaming store. Like,
right.
How do you feel about those? Like, come here and get a shiny or stuff like that.
So while I like the idea that helps drive sales for your local businesses, if you're trying to support your local GameStop or wherever, if that's your only place to get games, great. Part of me feels like it cheapens the experience for those of us who can't easily access stores. The nearest Target to me is 45 minutes. And if I don't have a babysitter, if I don't have time, I may not get there for 2 to 3 weeks to a month. And by that point, I've definitely missed the promo. The other part that I feel is that people who buy the game after it's released, but around the same time as the promo, sometimes get to lose out on some of the experience because they are gifted an overpowered Pokemon from day one. And yeah, it may not listen to you, but having Hoopa the day you start the game before gym number 1 seems like a really big mismatch and a little tone deaf to what you're trying to sell with the game and its experience.
So that is one of the points I will give Sword and Shield, even though I'm not a big Sword and Shield fan. The Gigantamax Eevee and Pikachu, you get them in the train station when you reach the wild area, but their Gigantamax level is not full or complete, or however you want to put it. So you still have to work for it. So you get them with the capability, but you have to work for it. I think that's absolutely wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And that's a balancing thing that I'm glad they did with those.
Yes.
It's one thing to give a promo that is just for the sake of giving it. It's another thing to understand, hey, we want players to feel enfranchised by having played Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, but also we want them to not be steamrolling the whole game before they even get a chance to experience the story that we're trying to tell.
Yeah, it does irk me a little bit that they can't evolve.
Wow.
Because, I mean, like Pikachu, sometimes I don't mind not evolving. Give him a light ball and watch him go. But my Eevee needs to evolve.
Yeah, Umbreon best evolution, hands down, but we'll go anywhere else.
That's another topic. Spheel Rogue, welcome in, friends. Hi. So there's one other promo that it's not tied to the store, to a store. It is being done by Pokemon themselves, and I think it is perfect, okay? Because it can only be digital, and it rewards you for having been a fan of the franchise or, a dedicated customer player. Did you see where they're offering you custom skins for your phone?
Yes.
I love that. It's customization. People go nuts over customization, but the ability to customize your phone because you've played something, that makes it so much cooler.
Absolutely. Having that backwards compatibility and that way to bring your experiences that you've already played through forward really makes it feel like, hey, they may not know my name, but they care that I care.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's, like Jeff Bezos came and gave me a hug or something. I saw the fee for Prime leave my checking account. Next door, I get a knock at the door. Bezos is giving me a hug.
Shakes your hand and says, good job.
How's the dogs? How's the wife? Huh? You want to go grab lunch? Yeah.
I mean, just watch Ocean's 11 last night. You are in fact correct. It's just this guy's a machine. He comes in, he knows everybody's name, and he knows what's going on.
It just refers to you by your Amazon customer ID. Hello, customer 8483924. How are you? Like, oh, yeah, I'm good. Jeff, you?
I don't know. He's turning into Zucker at that point.
Yeah,
okay. We'll have to move on.
No, I do think that retailer paired promos can definitely improve. I'm not against getting a shiny whatever for visiting a store or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not super against that, because those aren't limited supply. Like, right. They can generate 50 billion shiny Charizards, and that's not gonna, it has no impact. So,
right.
I don't know. I just think if I'm paying you all this money to your store better lock in something solid.
For sure. It needs to be a joint operation between both the Pokemon company and the retailer.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be something that can just be tossed out at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I obviously don't, I don't know what contract Target and the Pokemon company signed, but, it feels like there might have been some competition for who's going to get our best promotion. The Pokemon company is like, I will print, how many ever statues for whatever retailer says they'll give me the best split of the revenue. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, or maybe they say, oh, our games have sold historically well at Target versus, Walmart, Kmart, whatever you have around you. But I don't have the insight to that, but I think Target must have did something special.
Absolutely.
But
speaking of games selling and selling the games, let's transition to our next topic, and let's go to some games that maybe you didn't exactly pay for. This is a way to say these
Who does that? Hold on. There are some bad eggs around me that don't pay for their Pokemon games. I, for one, am shocked and two, appalled.
I would agree. Now, some of these most egregious offenders that I would call ROM hacks, let's call them that,
okay,
are things like Pokemon Radical Red or Pokemon Emerald Kaizo, things that you'll see people do Let's Plays of and Nuzlockes of. Not to say that anyone would ever dare use non-official Pokemon games, but these are fan-based projects that are really just homages and works of art aimed at trying to help the community better express themselves and how they like to play the games.
And for that reason that you just said right there, I am in favor of these horrible, horrible things. Look, we understand that it's a business, right? Like Game Freak, Pokemon Company, and Nintendo, you're a business. You are here to make money. If you give me everything I want all at once, I'm never giving my money ever again. If you make a complete game, it has all the fan list wants and wishes, what's my incentive for looking at you in 2 years, 3 years when you release the next generation? Like 50 new Pokemon? Okay, but come on, you can't give me all the quality of life, which I feel is the biggest change in most ROM hacks is quality of life improvements, such as, being able to, you can access your PC from anywhere now. But, that was one of the big things was accessing your PC from anywhere, adding to your party or sending to your PC when you catch something. So they're catching up. They're doing those things. But I feel like that was the biggest incentive for folks to do ROM hacks in the first place.
Right. And the Pokemon Company has a set pattern that they have followed for years and years. Yes, we have had quality of life improvements over that time, but it's not always the way in which a ROM is made that I would say would behoove the company, the Pokemon company, to make it more like that. For instance, if you play a Pokemon game where it is a Nuzlocke, the Pokemon company isn't exactly enfranchised to have permadeath in a Pokemon game aimed at children.
Yeah.
Whereas, people who are, I'm going to say, a little older than children, at least physically, we may enjoy a little bit of masochism where, oh no, that lucky crit just completely tanked my team. I lost that game. I need to start over. That feels more like something that the Pokemon Company, even though they may not look at it that way, we as people sometimes feel the need to see that.
So would a hard mode fix that for you? Like, that's that. So, but I guess that doesn't really speak to ROM hacks. That speaks to Nuzlocks, because I can Nuzlocke Scarlet and Violet next week. I could, because that's just an imposed rules set, a harder, to make a harder challenge for you. So I don't. That's not exactly with ROMs. I think that, like Radical Red. So we'll talk about some specific ROM hacks that we've heard of people playing. But that's one of the key things is there's a hardcore mode. So that speaks to the challenge.
And it's what drives you to play it. So you'll see a lot of YouTubers and people who have posted playthroughs and analyses of videos of people doing Nuzlocke and playthroughs. Emerald Kaizo, similarly to Radical Red, is considered a super hard version of Emerald. It just straight up murders you if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, I've heard that. But so I think they are good because it gives, obviously Nintendo's not going to find every single one of them, but it gives them something to look at, like if they see all the creators who are, playing their game on day one when they release Scarlet and Violet, and then, like 6 months later, they're like, oh, let's see if this guy's still enjoying the game. And all of a sudden he's out there playing Unbound. They're like, oh, wait a minute, this totally stole our trademarks, but it has a point in this aspect.
Right.
So I'm not against them. I'm not.
No. As somebody who has spent the better part of 2 decades now working online and in the online space, ROM hacks and ROMs, yes, it is, I'm going to say, a morally gray area to me. A lot of these things are art, they are expressions where you may not have expected it to be that way, but they are. There are instances of crossovers where you get a Pokemon type game that has been ROM hacked, quote unquote, over to be Digimon or Dragon Ball Z or
there's a Yu-Gi-Oh Pokemon
really
game.
Cool stuff. Exactly.
which I watched, and it's actually really fun.
And that's, to me, it's one of those where you're like, oh, that's really cool, and it mixes two things I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
Now, on the reverse side of that, sometimes you get games that were never intended to be Pokemon that become Pokemon.
Yeah, and yeah, any monster catching sim, you just
oh my goodness.
Oh, so, they copy Pokemon. Well, kind of.
The big ones that I know of are Pixelmon, which I don't know how many of the members of our chat and community are Minecraft fans, but Pixelmon is Pokeminecraft. And
so cool.
You've got boss battles and multiple people. You've got all sorts of things, but you've got Pokemon from Bulbasaur all the way to the 7th gen, I believe, is the last one that
I don't think
I
they
was
put 8th gen
updated
in.
to.
Yeah.
Not yet. But for instance, you can have a level 70 Mewtwo spawn into your world as a raid boss in that, similar to an Ender Dragon in Minecraft. And that's just something that Pokemon will have a really hard time duplicating because you don't get that same creation aspect. You're not building your house, your fortress in the world of Pokemon. You have secret bases, but you're not. It's a very different feel.
And just real quick to credit Steve in the chat, when we're talking about hard moments in Pokemon games, Nothing. There hasn't been anything since Cynthia clapped you. Everything Diamond and Pearl on has been fairly easy. Sun and Moon was a cakewalk for me, but that's on the difficulty end of the topic. But so Pixelmon is amazing to me because you took two gigantic franchises. I mean, two of the kings. You know, they're sitting up on their thrones laughing at you. You know, smashed them together, and they took the time to put all the mechanics in there. Like,
and the biomes and
yeah,
the ability to find Pokemon where you would expect them to be.
It's a very lowly rendered version of what I'm hoping Scarlet and Violet to be. So, and it looks like it could be, but I think that Pixelmon is absolutely incredible because you can have servers with your friends, you can join a public server, so it's not like you have to wait for a new game a new release every time. You have the base game, you have patches, and then you're in there. Because it's Minecraft, you can create a new seed.
Right, and there are already so Pixelmon's been released for a little bit, but you have a community that's dedicated to modding Pixelmon even then. And that makes it so cool.
Yeah, and that's another reason why it's so amazing, because all these people came together. But then on the opposite end of things, you have games that are almost solo built, like Radical Red.
Yep.
I believe it's cool. When I've seen people play it, I believe the intro says by Koala04 or something like that. And he's like, if you pay for this, you got scammed. And it's just like, yep, that's right. Because, you know, it's supposed to be a free game for the community to enjoy. And they do keep coming out with patches. I believe they just released a patch last week, or so I've heard. And the, increased difficulty of the AI. It's got hardcore. It has a randomizer built into the game.
Right, and that's nothing you're going to find. Yeah. You're not going to see Game Freak do that for 700 or 800 some Pokemon now.
Hear me out. I don't know. Nobody spoil anything. I had to talk to chat like I was their dad. Nobody spoil anything. But get back to bed. Based on the way that we unlocked Gimme Ghoul, I feel like Gimme Ghoul is going to be Pokemon 999, and they're going to leave us on the edge until Gen 10.
Yeah, I could see that being the case.
I think that's going to happen. Nobody spoil it. So, back to ROM hacks. So, Fire Red, or Radical Red, it's based off Fire Red Leaf Green. He put the Mega Dens in there, Mega Evolution, Z Crystal, all the gimmicks are there. And it is genuinely tough, even without hardcore mode. Because, now there's a setting for everything. You can select easy mode, you can select hardcore mode, you can select no grinding, you can select randomized abilities, randomized learn sets, randomized mons, obviously.
Does it randomize evolutions?
I don't know. No, it doesn't.
Is that or not?
No.
Okay.
But the bosses always stay the same.
Right.
So you could get a randomized Mewtwo with, I don't know, Pure Power. Pure Power Mewtwo is your starter. But the bosses are still going to have their difficult Pokemon to handle. And if I were to try, I don't think I could get past Surge. Just a hunch. I don't think that I could probably get past Surge. But
that sneaking suspicion.
Yeah. So
I really appreciate that about Radical Red is that they've continued to build upon what they started with. They've added the Z crystals. They've added the Mega Dens. Yeah. Now, on the converse side of that, similar to Pixelmon, we have Pokemon Wilds. Now, Pokemon Wilds is a demake almost that is all the way back to the style and art of Gold, Crystal, and Silver on the Game Boy Color. The caveat being is that you are basically wandering around, building it up like Minecraft, and you have a procedurally generated world that has every Pokemon from Gen 1 through, I believe, Gen 7 in it now. And that world, you can find eggs laying around that you can pick up only to be attacked by a Nidoking and Nidoqueen because, oh, hey,
It's their
that's
baby.
their baby. And it's an experience that it's different from how traditional Pokemon feels, similar to how people said that Legends of Arceus was going to reinvent the series. It is a different direction than what the Pokemon Company would normally take, what Game Freak decides, but it is a refreshing take that makes you remember that, oh my gosh, remember that first time you were playing Silver and you saw that weird tree and it turned around and attacked you as a Pokemon. It gives the same feeling because you will find berry trees that you're like, that is totally a cherry berry tree, and I know that tree. And the second you click on it, it turns around and attacks you, and it's another Sudowoodo. And you're just like, but why?
That was one thing I like. Was that that was one of the trials in Sun and Moon, wasn't it? Where you had to go through the forest and get stuff, and you had to pick out which one was a Sudowoodo or not a Sudowoodo. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. So and stuff like that. I mean, even throwing it back to the pixel, because don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's no official ROM hack for anything 3DS or higher. Obviously, there's randomizers, and then there's something else which I'll get into in a minute. But these people are touching old games.
Right.
They're not touching the modern stuff that you're going to go to GameStop and pick up off the shelf. They're touching old stuff. They're not trying to sell anymore. If you go find a store, selling brand new Emerald cartridge for, $60, congrats to you. You go play the Powerball. But
it's strange enough, the local game store that I have near my house, which seems bizarre, I'll do a shout out on a different episode, but the local game store up here actually buys and refurbishes old game consoles and games.
Cool.
They have a silver, a blue, and a yellow cartridge. All three of those cartridges, not a single one is going for less than $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes this okay to me is that they're taking something that's not their work and making it their work, but it's old stuff. It's not current selling stuff. You're not gonna hurt Nintendo's bottom line. You're just not.
Absolutely.
Because any cartridge out there is not owned by Nintendo right now.
Right, and Nintendo has forfeited that right because they no longer produce it. If they were still producing cartridges today, then it would be a different story.
Right.
But these are things that are hitting a secondary market, similar to trading cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pokemon Company, they get a profit when they sell a fresh pack of cards. If you're buying singles from TCG Player or another local game store,
or WoodlandDOX,
you are likely not affecting their bottom line at all. You're just supporting whoever's making that sale.
Right. And, because if that was the thing, then all these conventions you go to, all these card shops you go to that, just a couple months ago, I bought those sealed fossil decks.
Yep.
And I'm just like, if it's not hurting Nintendo anymore, and obviously I wasn't going to steal them because that would, hurt the store that owned it. Shout out Triple Play. But it's not bad that it's still out there and that someone else is taking it, making it their own. So while I'm not modifying the cards, that's kind of the same thing. It's an old product that Nintendo's already sold. It's off their books. They're done.
Yep.
Or, well, not that case, Pokemon Company, but yeah.
Wow.
So another ROM hack that some have enjoyed, some lowlifes have enjoyed, is called Pokemon Unbound. So Unbound is something I would never, ever expect the Pokemon Company to do. No matter how many times GhostTypeGhost says he wants a, horror-themed, Pokemon game. If anyone's played or watched Unbound, it goes a little bit far. It's very difficult, but it has a lot of very adult theme. Not, X-rated stuff, but violence and paraphernalia and stuff like that is in the game. And, when you are a adult, you know the difference between, parody, comedy, movie scripting, whatever, and real life, so you can make your decisions. But that's something that I could see Pokemon Company shutting down in a heartbeat, but they haven't. Because they're taking something kid-friendly and turning it very un-kid-friendly.
Absolutely. And the Pokemon Company has a history of trying to shut down things that are
Yeah.
not within their realm. There was a Pokemon fan project a while back that was for an open world Pokemon game, and it was very well supported. The developers didn't charge anyone for it, but the Pokemon Company shut them down very
Cease
quickly.
and desist.
Now, they tried to do that with another game that we're going to touch on here that started out as a fan project that has morphed into its own setup, and that is Temtem. So, Docs, I don't know what you know about Temtem.
I've watched the what do you call it trailer on the PlayStation Store. I've seen some people post clips or pictures, whatnot. Haven't delved into it myself because PKM and full life, but
Faux show, faux show. So Temtem is essentially designed to be a Pokemon competitor. You don't use balls per se. You use a little card to capture your monster or your Temtem, and it has some differences, but the inspiration is very clear.
yes,
And it is things like that, those fan projects that turn into full blown releases, that I think the Pokemon Company has stifled for too long, and it has sort of stagnated them. If they had been more receptive and more willing to have healthy competition, and I'm not talking the Pokemon Digimon rivalry. I'm a 90s kid and I will fight all of you. But I'm referring to things like a healthy competitor in the same space. That would make a world of difference.
so do you think that compared to these fan games that they see, do you think that is um more of a force to get them to improve other items, or do you think that having tons of fan games versus one legit competitor?
So the thing that I think drives their bottom line is if they cannot get a game ceased and desisted through legal matters or through legal actions, then it is a legitimate competitor. And that forces them to evaluate why some of our fan base chooses to go to that game over what we already offered. I don't think the fan games, the fan ROMs, and the things that are based on old tech is enough for them to really evaluate it as, oh, we need to evaluate how we do things. I think having legitimate competitors drives that business model and gets them to say, oh, yeah, we need to improve this. They're able to do this on half the budget we have, if not way less.
Way
Why
less for
haven't
some of
we
these, yeah.
already integrated it?
Yeah. I'm actually on the same side of the fence as you with this argument, because there's money at stake. What speaks louder to a company than money? So if their money's walking out the door, they're going to pay attention. If they're going to play a fan game, in between Gen 8 and Gen 9, well, I guess Arceus, but in between Arceus and Scarlet Violet, if you're out there playing Radical Red or Emerald Kaizo, or back in the day there was a guy named Drayano that made a lot of them. Drayano ROM hacks were those ones I tried. I'll admit that I tried those ones. They were like you could not leave the gym after entering it. All sorts of different stuff. Yeah, hard stuff. But they're not losing money to those guys, so they're like, oh, I guess this kind of keeps Pokemon in the forefront of their my Shiny Mewtwo distribution at GameStop didn't do it, but these people are still looking at our creations, are still looking at our monsters, and they're not trying to make money, and that's why they might not want to go cease and desist on them, because it's free advertising.
Free advertising.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I'd love me some free advertising. Are you kidding me? Subscribe now. So
yeah,
I mean,
I think
okay.
I think overall, the different types of Pokemon games out there, the different types of Pokemon fan games out there, the variety at the end of the day is only good for us as consumers. It is only good for us as fans of the product. This is something that the more we have available to us, the more time we can spend doing things we love with the icons of our childhood, whether that be a fat Pikachu that you remember from Yellow, or if you're a new player and you're enfranchised and you're looking at Zamzetta in Pixelmon.
Or a fat Fuecoco, today's plushie of the day. Trademark WoodlandDOX.
Fuecoco, best starter. Okay.
My new emote spells differently, but yeah, no, it's it's healthy. It's not, again, they're not going after recent product. The last thing that I do want to talk about actually does go after recent product. So let me know if your your feelings on this. Actually, no, that there's two things. One not recent, one very recent. So something I just watched today. My favorite content creator engaged in something where it was Fire Red Leaf Green, but it was multiplayer. You had two people playing in the same game. If they faced a trainer, you didn't have to face that trainer. And they also had some other self-imposed rules. So something like that, I think, is incredible because it's an older game.
Right. It's the equivalent of, and I would never have ever heard of this anywhere else, but it's the equivalent of like a Soul Link or a cage match. And that is something that I feel just drives the creativity of the community further, because you can set up two completely different teams.
Yeah. That's exactly what he was doing today, by the way. He was doing a Soul Link. But it was a Soul Link in the same game. But so, like, I just saw it today for the first time ever, and it's absolutely cool. But now the other thing that does touch modern product that I think could hurt the company, but also could, again, be free advertising. A lot of content creators are on the trend now of custom Pokemon, in the sense that they get the file out of, they dump the file out of the game. You catch Totodile, you catch Mimikyu. And they say, okay, I'm going to keep the base form of Totodile, the color scheme of Mimikyu, this guy's abilities, this guy's moveset. Then they dump the file, open up Photoshop or some program that I'm not smart enough to use, and put, reskin Totodile with Mimikyu's color palette, and then reassemble the file, put it back into the game. I enjoy watching, but I think that's crossing the line just a little bit.
That feels a step too far to me.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games. I understand that, but you're eventually going to get people who are, you're very, very close to that borderline copyright infringement, and you're toying with things that, everybody jokes that, oh my gosh, if you could make Ninjask into a normal type, and it's just, you make it something that has no real weaknesses except for one, all of a sudden you have an unkillable Ninjask. And to me, that you're breaking the fun of the game. At that point, yes, you get to be creative. You get to say, oh my gosh, I want to take this Gengar and this Magmortar and fuse them together. And then you get this nightmarish looking thing that has a grin the size of his body, but the flaming head of Magmortar. And it is, there's not enough bleach.
Well, design wise, I think that is great. But to alter fan art is the term that I'll use. If you want to put, like, one of the favorite fusions that I've seen is a Gourgeist on a Snorlax. So his belly is just the face, and it looks so good. And most of these do look really good, but to me, that's fan art that shouldn't be used in the game.
Right.
So
there's a very fine line between fan art and going too far.
Yes.
And that being said, there is fan art that goes too far, but we will talk this episode.
No, this is a nice and friendly podcast.
For what?
What? But yeah, so I think overall, ROM hacks, fan creativity, good. Don't steal someone else's work. Just don't. Credit your artists. I just gave two folks artist badge today in my my Twitch profile. So that, when they pop in, I use their emotes, so now they have the artist badge. Always credit your artists, guys. That's not a skill set everybody has. Appreciate the artists in your life, please.
Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I mean,
like WoodlandDOX.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say there's accountants and techies, but then there's artists who actually know what they're doing.
Miss you, GhostTypeGhost.
Yes.
Much love.
So before we move on to our last topic, I have to say one thing. Your lack of intake of water is heroic. I have almost emptied this entire bottle just by choking because I'm talking so much. So congratulations to you for not.
I'm part camel, so that's you don't see it because of the chair.
Speaking of camels, okay. What a segue. Speaking of camels, in the Silver Tempest set, the TCG that comes out tomorrow, there's a Ditto card. It's actually Ditto card, but the art is all Nummels, and the one Nummel just has the Ditto face.
I love it.
So
yes.
there was a store I was at last week, and that he got it a week early. I'm like, bro, you're breaking the street date. He's like, no, it's a pre-release. I'm like, okay. I bought 3 packs. I didn't get anything too good, but I was hoping for that Nummel. It was three packs for 10. So, but all right. Well, let's take it home here. So, like
I have this wonderful transition for you.
Oh, transition away while I unblur.
Exactly. So you were just talking about Ditto. Now, one of the beautiful things about the Pokemon universe is you have these amazing creatures like Ditto that can be anything you want them to be. Looking at you, Chad. Be good. Behave. Okay. So you have all of these great things and this wonderful creative world. We wanted to know what a children's show in the Poke universe would look like. Now, to me, kids show. First kids show you can think of. First one off the top of my head is a 90s kid, Sesame Street. Sesame Street was the building blocks for a lot of us. And if you have Ditto in Sesame Street, just Ditto, all of a sudden, all of your letters and numbers, it can turn into them right away. Snap a finger, and Ditto is an A.
One Ditto.
You have Crobat the Count. You have Snorlax the Cookie Monster, or Munchlax the Cookie Monster. You have so many things that would be so cool to see. And we just wanted to look back on these things and be like, hey, if you were a kid, what would be the Saturday morning cartoon that you would be watching? Case in point.
Yeah. Oh, well, mine's not a Saturday morning cartoon, but but if oddly enough, Futurama did do an episode where they were 3 different Saturday morning kid cartoons, like each segment of the show. They did G.I. Joe, like a Dr. Seuss kind of thing, and I don't like an anime style one. It's one of my favorite episodes of Futurama. But so one show that I want to create, or it's not really create as it is adapt a show, kind of like you just did to the Pokeverse. So I remember watching Looney Tunes and seeing the animation, like, oh man, this was out when my grandparents grew up, and you were just, but then you had this amazing reinventing of the wheel. Tiny Toons.
Tiny Toons.
Yes, it's Baby Toons. Tiny Toons. It's alliteration. If it's for kids, it has to have alliteration. So Tiny Toons, and I want just all the baby Pokemon. I want Cleffa. I want Pichu. I want Igglybuff. I want Magby. Elekid. I want them all to be Tiny Toons. That's what what's cuter than that?
I will give you that one. That one I hadn't considered. Baby Pokemon and Tiny Toons just fits perfectly together.
Yeah, and they're diverse. Like so what, you got Lola and Bugs. So what, Cleffa and Igglybuff kind of look like each other.
Right.
And then the rest are, all the individual animals, Daffy and the hen. What's the hen's name? The rooster?
Oh, Falcon Legend.
Yeah, Falcon. Yeah, I say, yeah, that guy.
I'll say
So yeah, I mean, you have 2 that look alike, and Clef and Igglybuff aren't really the same species, but they look alike, and then the rest are all unique individuals, and I think it's an absolutely perfect fit. I would wake up every Saturday and watch that.
You could have an Azurill and Magby chasing each other around Wile E. Coyote style.
Exactly. And the Magby can just do a Naruto run and just put his just woo.
You have Taz the LA kid.
It's
Oh yeah,
it writes
it writes
itself.
itself.
Yeah, I'm gonna, man. If they weren't trademark characters, I'd be rich after after the show. But
Well, in the same vein as that, uh, so we all know the friendliest ghost of our childhood
Ghost
was
Type Ghost.
Casper.
Oh,
Well,
he was
I
pretty
didn't,
friendly as a kid. I'm just
I
saying.
didn't know him. I didn't know him as a kid. I knew him as, well, sort of an adult, maybe just a slightly bigger kid.
College kids
Uh,
aren't adults. Yeah, no, we're not.
but we have an almost parallel in the Poke universe already, and that is Rotom, the friendliest ghost.
Yes. He might not have a friendly shape, but he is friendly and energetic, and yeah.
That's why we have the Rotom decks, and all of the neat things that we already have in the Poke universe could just lend itself to it.
I think that's a really good pick. I like
It's
it.
one of those that you just have to kind of sit back and you're like, oh, if I was a kid, what did I watch all the time? Now, how do I adapt that? So you suddenly have Power Rangers, but the Megazords are Dragonite and Swellow and all of these giant mech Pokemon combining.
Oh, or even like Phalanx and Dugtrio, Pokemon that are multiple units.
Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Well, I have another one that I'd like to do. So, if Steele's still in chat, I was talking to him earlier about this, and my big show when I was a kid, mid kid, so not 1 to 5, but like 5 to 8, was Blue's Clues. Now, what Pokemon could play Blue? I personally enjoy a good Quaxley, but he's not a dog, so I'm not going to lock into Quaxley. But which would you think maybe
I
Growlithe?
feel like it. See, as an old '90s kid, that would be my first pick. But I think the more appropriate pick by today's standards would be Yamper.
Yamper was my second, yeah, because Yamper is more monocolored than Growlithe. So blue was just shades of blue. Yamper is more or less just shades of yellow and slate brown. So
Exactly, and I feel like Yamper would be a good parallel to that. Or you do Clifford the Big Red Dog, and it's just a giant Growlithe.
yeah, I was gonna say because there's plenty of dog shows as kids, so you could just pick whatever dog looks closest, throw them in there. But Blue's Clues was my favorite as a kid. I would, sit there and sing along, we just gotta let it. And I'd be sitting there grooving in my little chair with my apple juice, unless my dad took it from me. But that's a real story, by the way. There's video of me as a baby, and I guess I had a thing for apple juice. I still do. But my dad drank the apple juice, walked in the room, saw me crying, drank the apple juice, and walked away. And I was like, Dad! So I still give him a hard time today.
Cold-blooded, straight up.
Oh, hey, he's in the chat. So see, no, I still give him a hard time today, and every once in a while he'll just show up with a bottle of apple juice, but here, shut up. Just give me the apple juice. But, so...
I also have one more show that I conceived. Now, we talked about kids shows, and as a kid, I didn't have cable.
Okay.
So I probably watched shows that I wasn't exactly meant to watch, the X-Files.
Oh, okay. I'm not just wait a minute. Wait,
7 Days. There's a lot of heavy sci-fi on the 4 channels that we got on our antenna. And one of those shows was the old reruns of The Twilight Zone. And my thought, exactly. And with the reinvention of it with George Peele and everything that's been lately, my thought was, what does the Twilight Zone look like to the Pokemon universe? It's a world without Pokemon. It's a world where it's just normal people going about their lives, but there's no Pikachu power. And it is the most bizarre thing I could think of. It's like Dungeons and Dragons playing humans in houses.
and I can see people have drawn small cartoons and stuff where it's Ash is sitting by a fire with his Pikachu and he's got a Game Boy equivalent and it's wow, deer, it's just a regular deer on the screen. And I'm yeah, that's pretty good. So I imagine that's kind of what that would be is Someone has a regular dog and it doesn't breathe fire, and they have, when the bat bites you, you get a 2-year pandemic, that kind of thing. So, yeah, so I could totally see that happening. I don't know if it's exactly a kid show, but you watched it as a kid, so I'm gonna count it. It counts. Then the very last,
my childish ways now.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're just bigger kids. So the last thing that I think is going way down the rabbit hole, there's no pun intended, I just want to make it sound that way. I already talked about Looney Tunes, but in the Pokemon universe, is there an equivalent of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Digimon for the kids?
I would have to imagine there is.
But what is it?
And that's the weird part. So I can only liken it because as a 90s kid, I chose to embrace all of these things, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Digimon. And in the Digimon games, the Digimon universe, which seems weird to say, they have the Digimon trading card game within the universe. You collect the cards, you play the game, same as what you do in real life. So I almost feel like Pokemon has the Pokemon trading card game, but it's like baseball cards. You're collecting them because it's baseball cards.
I got my Stantler rookie card.
Like, oh my gosh, did you see my Charizard card? It's level 58, so it's got flamethrower, it's got fire blast, it's got fly, and it's got seismic toss. No way! Like,
I would love that to just like, even for an episode nowadays, if they just played a joke, because one of my favorite things is self-referential humor. So, if you're a huge franchise and you can poke fun at yourself, that's just makes me laugh on end. So even if they did something in a modern episode where it's like league cards, they have league cards in Galar, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So you had your league card where you posed and it did stats and all that stuff. So that's kind of like it. But, in their universe, I think there'd have to be some sort of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon equivalent for
sure.
I mean, they've all been around for 30-ish years. Not saying that we're over 30, but it's been around for 30-ish years. At least 20 for each of them. So that's to say that something of that genre would have staying power with kids in a whole another, hypothetical timeline. So there'd have to be something. It's gotta be sort of like that. Yeah.
Much like the staying power of those games, unfortunately, we are getting close to the end of our hour.
Yeah, already. We don't have that kind of staying. Well, I'll tell you what, guys.
We do.
20 years from now, if I'm still here doing this, A, why has nobody contacted my therapist? B, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. 20 years from now, you.
I look forward to seeing you again.
Exactly. But guys, that's gonna be it for tonight. Again, Ghost was not here due to work obligations, but thankfully, not GhostTypeGhost was here to help step in, and I didn't have to do a solo episode because my water's gone. My water's just gone. If this was a solo episode, I would have made it halfway through, or I had to bring like 4 waters. But everybody, make sure to thank Andamask. Andamask is always behind the scenes on the show. Idea man, and then I just tell you all I came up with it, and you believe me because he's never here to defend himself. So,
as normal tech normal.
Exactly.
I'm so happy to help, and it's been great hanging out with you guys tonight. Hope we make it back a couple episodes from now, but we'll see what time brings on.
Yes. So now we're gonna roll reverse to close it out here. Is there any platform that you could think of to tell the folks to find us at?
Definitely Facebeam.
It is actually, yes. No, guys, make sure you go find the show on Podbean, Google Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Grandma's Podcasts, Spotify. Yeah, it's just anywhere you can listen to stuff. Okay, the video clips do go up on YouTube. Who doesn't want to see this more? This is actually the first time I've seen Andamask's face. So
the illusion shattered.
Exactly. I thought you'd be taller, but Thanks,
You
guys.
know this is a mask.
Thank you guys one more time for being here. Appreciate it. Next week, GhostTypeGhost will be back. You will be interrupting me playing the first Vanguard game ever, but the next day I'm off and I get to play Scarlet Violet all day. So I will catch you guys next week. Thank you for being here, and bye.
Take care, everybody.